Hi, I'm Salina Rubio, your emotion and body code practitioner. This video will provide basic info on the emotion code and also go into a bit about the heart wall. So this book here, The Emotion Code by Dr. Bradley Nelson, changed my life. I was introduced to it through a podcast I had listened to featuring the creator of the method, Dr. Brad, who developed it over the course of his years as a chiropractor doctor. So right after the podcast, I looked up his book on Amazon, saw the glowing reviews, and ordered it right away. Now, this was back in 2019, August, and since then, my life has transformed. I really had no idea about the power of energy healing with the emotion code, so I'm excited to share about it with you. Let me first start by explaining that this all starts with energy. If you look at beneath the surface of our skin and bones, we're made up of atoms at the most basic level. The atom itself is 99.999% empty space, and empty space is energy, right? So this means we are just energy beings. Everything is energy, including our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, all of it energy. So as energy beings, our bodies hold energetic frequencies, and every emotion has a particular frequency. Our organs are actually responsible for generating these various emotions we feel. So, for example, our liver produces emotions like anger and depression. Our stomach produces anxiety and hopelessness. Our heart produces feelings of heartache and insecurity. We're meant to feel these feelings, feel these emotions, and allow them to pass and move on eventually. But what happens is sometimes these emotions get trapped when we're unable to process them out in a healthy way. And this can happen if we suppress the emotion or if the emotion is particularly intense. We may not be emotionally sophisticated enough to handle it, or we may already be too overwhelmed to process through more emotion at the time. So emotions can even get trapped if we choose to overfocus, overthink, and overfeel the emotions around a particular trauma or event until that negative energetic emotion becomes just trapped in our body. Once an emotion gets stuck in your body, it traps about the size of your fist to about the size of a grapefruit. So basically, this energetic sphere of emotional frequency, and it can lodge anywhere in your body. It can lodge in your neck, your back, near an organ, dozens, even hundreds of them. So for instance, you may have a trapped emotion of anxiety that may have gotten stuck in your neck, or bitterness stuck in your gut, or fear stuck in your back, low self-esteem energy maybe stuck near your heart, and so on and so on. So at this point, a few things can start happening. The first thing is that these trapped emotions can contribute to pain or physical symptoms. So this trapped emotion of anxiety about the size of your fist is vibrating at a certain frequency and can start tearing at and irritating the tissues, say around the neck where it's lodged. Especially if you have a lot of other trapped emotions in that area, it can eventually lead to pain or discomfort like chronic neck pain, shoulder pain, even headaches or migraines. Second thing is that these trapped emotions can imbalance our organs. Now, our organs are responsible for generating specific emotions, and these organs can become negatively impacted as well. So sometimes if the organ has been overworked or overcharged from having had a history of having to generate so much of these particular emotions, the organ itself can become imbalanced and eventually starts experiencing some problems. So for example, if your liver, it produces things like anger, bitterness, hatred, resentment, depression. So if you've had a season or a life where you've had to experience these emotions often or very intensely, your liver may become compromised. The third thing that can happen is that these trapped emotions start distorting your energetic field. See, we all have this magnetic field all around us, and you can think of these trapped emotions as causing distortions or warps in that field. So you may start getting pain, say, in your back or your shoulder or chest, and it's often because these trapped emotions are just sending out frequencies of distress and pain because it's just been there for so long. It's basically our body's way of keeping score and notifying us like, hey, pay attention to this. It's time to deal with this trauma. So the fourth thing that can happen is once these emotions trap, it makes you what we call very easily triggered. very reactive. So, for example, maybe when you were a child, you experienced a lot of abandonment or felt very vulnerable emotionally or physically. So, what that does is those trapped emotions from that period just tend to come back really easily. So, in your current life, when you find yourself in a situation where it would make sense to feel a bit vulnerable or where you might potentially be abandoned, it's really easy to just slip back into those emotions that you experienced in childhood or earlier, just more quickly and more intensely than the situation may even call for, because you've already got all those trapped emotions around abandonment and vulnerability already vibrating within your body. So it's much easier to go back into those emotions since your body is already so familiar with it. So sometimes when you're currently experiencing depression, you may think it's around what's going on with you right now, which, yes, it definitely contributes, but a lot of it may be because it's triggering and reactivating trapped emotions around previous points of depression, anxiety, and sadness that happened earlier on or even from childhood. And your body just keeps reliving it, like your body is really living in the past. So we'll go into the benefits of releasing trapped emotions in just a moment, but first let's discuss how we identify and release these trapped emotions. What's really fascinating about the emotion code is we use applied kinesiology, also known as muscle testing, to guide your healing session, to examine you, to get information from your body and information from your subconscious. So with the muscle testing, we can do this in person, but more often we do this by proxy, meaning we are trained to access your body's magnetic field when permitted to do so and be able to muscle test on ourselves in your place. So that is why, as a practitioner, I'm able to do sessions for clients all around the world. There's a number of ways to do this. So you can muscle test with your fingers, with your arm. You can muscle test standing up, doing the sway method back and forth, or even with the pendulum. So I often use what's called the ring and ring method. It looks like this. It holds tight when it's a yes and comes apart easily for a no answer. I often use the pendulum as well, which swings toward me for a yes and side to side for a no. Now, if you're in person, we might ask you to hold out your arm and pose a yes/no question to your body. If the answer is congruent, positive, or yes, your arm will hold tight easily and steady. If it's a negative, incongruent, or no answer, your arm would go down easily. So if you have pain in your body, we could ask, are there any trapped emotions causing or contributing to, say, that chronic migraines or headaches? And we'll test your body. Most likely it will say yes. In fact, 80% of the time, there are trapped emotions causing or contributing to a physical symptoms. We even have a saying in our culture like, wow, that was a pain in the neck, or oh my gosh, that was a pain in my back. So those are literally describing trapped emotions. So your practitioner will ask your body some questions using the emotion code chart, which looks like this. There's 2 columns, column A, column B, and 6 rows. So using muscle testing, we'll ask, is there a trapped emotion that we can release relating to this issue we're working on? Is it in column A? Is it in column B? Determine that, and then use the muscle testing to determine which row. And then in each grid, you'll see there are several options. So we'll muscle test through and see which trapped emotion is surfacing for healing relating to that issue. So once we identify and say it's a trapped emotion of rejection, we'll then ask, do we need to know more about this trapped emotion using the muscle testing? Usually we don't, but sometimes we do. And in those cases, we may need to muscle test to determine the age that it was trapped in your body or the location in your body where it's trapped. Once we've learned and determined all that we need to know about the trapped emotion, we're ready to release. And we do this by using magnetism and intention to release through your governing meridian. And some practitioners use magnets, which are on the back of our emotion code chart. Others of us use our fingertips, which are already connected to the Earth's magnetic field. So I like to use my fingertips and also hold a clear quartz crystal, which is great at amplifying energy and intention. Now, your governing meridian is a line of energy that runs from the inside of the top of your lip over your head, down the back of your spine till about your tailbone. So if you're here in person, we would simply swipe down that portion of your back where the governing meridian is 3 times down the middle of your back, and that trapped emotion is released. Now, if it's an inherited trapped emotion, yes, we can detect and clear generational trauma using the emotion code. We would actually need to swipe 10 times down your back or the governing meridian for those inherited trapped emotions. Now, the generational ones, they're one line of energy. So say if it's a trapped emotion of inherited terror from, say, a great-great-grandmother, this is one line of energy passed on to each generation. When it releases off of you, it also releases off all the family line, all the family members that are connected to that trapped emotion, including your children if you have children that you pass it on to. Remember, we're doing this as a distance healing session. So I'm remotely connecting to your energy field and releasing these trapped emotions by proxy for you. So there are trapped emotions from your own experience, and there are also inherited trapped emotions. And there's also one more way you can get trapped emotions, and that's through absorbing trapped emotions from others in your environment, in your field, those who you've been around consciously or unconsciously. And sometimes your body is just absorbing and picking up those emotions and can trap that way as well. So what are the benefits of releasing these trapped emotions? I'm going to go through 4 main ones here. The first thing is that you become way less triggered, much less reactive. So you still feel and experience difficult emotions, but they just don't bother you nearly as much. It doesn't ruin your whole day, or it doesn't take you out like it used to. So these emotions just seem to bounce or roll right off of you instead of feeling like you're stuck with that emotion. So this really helps you stay in a higher vibration, allowing you to access more joy, more peace, be more productive, and just be in a happier state. The second is that you can release pain or discomfort and imbalance from your body. So often the pain or discomfort symptoms resolve or become much more manageable. So this could work with physical symptoms like migraines, back pain, old injuries that are having a difficult time healing, digestive issues, or mental health things like depression, anxiety, and PTSD. The third thing is that it gives relief to the organs in your body that have had to produce so many of these emotions. And number 4, now this is huge, and I love this so much about the emotion code, is that it neutralizes your past, helping you to make peace with your past. So you're able to think back on painful events in your past. You're still able to have memory around it, but guess what? That negative emotional charge around it is just no longer there. Like those feelings of sadness, rejection, insecurity, fear that were involved with the past trauma, they are neutralized. So like with therapy, it can be great, because it helps us to have more understanding around the dynamics of what happened in our past experience, and can even help us learn positive coping strategies. But therapy doesn't necessarily take the emotional charge out of that trauma. So our body is still reliving it and still experiencing the emotions from it. And medication can numb the trauma and low frequencies emotions around that, and numb us and protect us in that way. It can be helpful as a tool for a time, but really it's just a band-aid, right? It's not a solution. So positive coping strategies, that helps us to be more proficient at managing the emotional charge and triggers from our trauma, but they're still there, right? So totally no shade on therapy or any of that, and I've benefited from therapy myself and worked in the field of mental health for many years. But with the emotion code, we can actually neutralize that. So this was so impactful for me, especially coming from a background in mental health and having gone through some significant childhood and relationship trauma myself. When the emotional charge of your past traumas can be neutralized, you're able to live life at a whole new level. So what I do is release those trapped emotions from your body so you can still remember what happened. You can even remember what you were feeling, but you're not being affected by it as significantly anymore. How cool is that, right? So as you can see, there are lots of benefits from removing trapped emotions, and it really goes to the root of our issues. This is healing at such a deep level. I mean, there's so many things we can do to improve ourselves. There's great personal development books out there, seminars, programs. We can even do EFT tapping, Reiki, and traditional therapy. But in the end, we may have gained a lot of knowledge, learned to more successfully manage our symptoms. But when it comes down to it, no matter how great those books, workshops, or modalities were, in the end, do you still have those trapped emotions? Did you release those trapped emotions, that trapped negative energy? Did you remove that negative emotional charge from your body? And the answer is no. You're still triggered, you're still reactive, you're still traumatized from your past, still carrying around the weight of that emotional baggage. Releasing these trapped emotions gets to the root cause, allowing you to be emotionally lighter and ultimately have a better quality of life. So now let's talk about the heart wall. If you've been through a rough period or have had significant trauma in your life, you probably have one. In fact, 93% of people have what we call a heart wall. We're going to go into what that is, but first I want to emphasize that the heart wall is the greatest groundbreaking discovery in the energy healing field, discovered by Dr. Bradley Nelson. It's basically these layers of energetic walls that we put up around our heart during points of trauma to protect us and even to keep our heart from breaking in that moment. So remember how we talked about how trapped emotions can lodge anywhere in our body, and they do so in the shape of a spear, a ball, about the size of our fist? Well, these heart wall layers are a bit different in that it will take the energy of the emotion that is getting trapped. Let's use rejection, for example. If you felt a deep rejection, it could take that rejection energy and wrap it around your heart, basically building a layer or a wall of rejection energy to keep your heart from breaking. So your body can also choose to use existing trapped emotions already lodged in our body and use it as building material to build these protective layers around our heart. Okay, so this is because sometimes we need that layer of protection, that extra guard around our heart to keep our heart from breaking, especially in the face of an immediate threat. But when that threat passes, instead of these layers releasing, they often become permanent fixtures that hold us back. In the best case scenario, you'll sit with that emotional pain for a bit, face it, feel it, process it, and choose to move on. And sometimes your body's able to do that, release that wall of rejection or whatever emotion it is once the threat has passed and you feel like you're in an emotionally safer place to do so. But sometimes you're not in that position. Maybe your body's just been so overwhelmed processing so many negative emotions one after the other, or maybe you've chosen to suppress that emotion and not allow yourself to feel or process it. And in those cases, that emotion just becomes a permanent wall. So over time, as you go through different traumas, that heart wall just becomes thicker and thicker. You can build up one layer upon another layer. So you could build up a layer of failure. Some months go by, there may be a wall of a layer of resentment, another layer of anxiety, and the list goes on. So how does this heart wall affect us? Well, say for instance, you're communicating even with a loved one, and it's a positive message at that. Well, you're here saying what you're saying, but guess what? Your message is having to go through each one of those layers, so that layer of disappointment, that layer of low self-esteem, that layer of insecurity. So by the time your message reaches that person, it's been distorted a bit. And same thing the other way around. When someone's trying to communicate to you, even if it's a loving, positive message, you're hearing what they're saying, but their message is having to go through that layer of abandonment, that layer of betrayal, that layer of heartache. So by the time their message is received by you, it's also been distorted a bit. So what this does is it makes communication and connection more difficult than it has to be. It's harder to give love, receive love, and keep love when there's this barrier of a heart wall. So that's really something significant we want to take care of and release. Other typical heart wall symptoms that we see are having low energy, having a weakened immune system, major health issues, difficulty having clarity about your life's path and purpose, and definitely relationship blocks like feeling disconnected or having unhealthy attachment patterns, unhealthy communication issues, um, also abundance blocks, anxiety, depression, PTSD. After you release the heart wall, you may start to notice those areas turning around. You feel more connected to your true self so you can live an authentic life, have greater clarity of vision for your life, increased ability to communicate and connect with others in a more genuine, less guarded way. Heart wall clearing helps you go through experiences being so less triggered. Okay, so things that used to trigger you in your past just won't be there. You may notice more energy, stronger immune system. It helps with wealth and abundance. You feel less anxious, more calm, just lighter, happier. Pretty amazing, right? So I work with people all over the world that struggle with anxiety, depression, PTSD, have business, abundance, and relationship blocks. And as soon as we remove that heart wall, layer by emotional layer, the anxiety and depression start subsiding. I start seeing my clients thrive in their businesses, personal lives, and manifesting more abundance and just being freer and lighter. It's very effective and so powerful. No other healing modality releases the heart wall. This is exclusive to the emotion code. There are actually only a few thousand practitioners worldwide that have the expertise to remove a heart wall. So if you're watching this right now, it may be a sign that this is for you, that it is your time. Maybe you can even feel the weight of these trapped emotions and you're ready for some relief. Now, most practitioners offer an introductory session so that you can experience what it's like to remove these trapped emotions. If you don't already have a practitioner, you're welcome to schedule a session with me. Just click on the link in the description. I'd love to show you how to have a reduction in your pain or discomfort symptoms, even within a single session, and even if that pain has been there for many years. Now, if you're starting to lose pain that's been there for a prolonged period in just a session, 2 or 3, there's got to be something to it, right? Well, I welcome you to take a look at my reviews where my clients share their experience with the emotion code. Right now, the reviews are on my IG and Facebook pages, so you can connect with me on social media platforms. Instagram and TikTok are on at Radiant Life Coding. That's CODING. On Facebook, Radiant Life Coding as well. The last thing I'd like to mention is that I'm also a certified body code practitioner. The body code was developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson as well. It's a much more expanded system of energy healing. The emotion code is actually a small part of the body code. So in sessions with me, we'll use both modalities, whichever is more appropriate and beneficial for your issue. And the body code can target a wide range of imbalance in your body. It can clear other energetic imbalances as well, other ways that your body holds negative trapped energy. So there's so many ways our body does that. Briefly wanted to mention some of the other areas that the body code can address, things like limiting beliefs, subconscious reprogramming, realigning meridians, balancing chakras, with the body code. We can also address pathogens, toxins, nutritional and lifestyle deficiencies, and even very physical imbalance in our organs, glands, different body systems, and even subluxations and misalignments in our structural systems. So if we're focusing on very physical issues like, say, allergies, IBS, autoimmune conditions, chronic pain, we are definitely going to be using the body code. Many people have found resolution of symptoms or significant relief simply using the emotion code or the body code. So energy healing, it can always be a great form of complementary care to whatever medical treatment or therapeutic modality you're currently using. I do want to say that the emotion and body code are energy healing tools, and even though my field is energy healing, I want to clarify that the way I do my practice, the way I see it, is that I don't do any other healing. Only God, spirit, source, the universe, however you relate to that higher power, does the healing. So I consider it such an honor and privilege for my role in being able to hold space for your healing from God through this energy healing modality. It's truly my calling and passion in life. So if you feel called to try the emotion code to assist you on your healing journey and you don't yet have a practitioner, click on the link in the description and schedule your introductory session today. Don't forget to click subscribe. Thank you for watching and spending this time with me. Many, many blessings to you.